Hello YouTube, this is Seth Kipris, and today I'm going to present an idea on what I consider would be the ultimate Total War game. Now, would this game, in my opinion, that I propose here would be perfect? No. However, what we could agree on is that each of the entries in the Total War franchise brought something new to the table or improved something that was previously brought on the table. So I'm going to cover the key elements that I consider necessary in the ultimate Total War franchise. Actually, game, pardon me. This is just my opinion, so if you think you can do better, you can leave a comment below. I'll read. So from Rome I would implement the family tree and the retinues. The family tree, it gave me the option to choose my heir, and the retinues were transferable. So for example, if I had a general that was going to die soon, I could give his smith, bodyguard, quartermaster and bard to some younger general, thus giving that younger general a boost in his skills. I liked that. Medieval, I liked the diplomacy, because at the bottom of the diplomacy bar there would be a proposal balance, and it would indicate whether your offers are demanding, balanced or generous. So you would have an indication on whether you can demand more from them or whether you should give better offers to entice them to reach an agreement. Also, the UI in this game I consider to be very well done, because whenever you hover your mouse cursor over a unit, not only would it say the usual status, for example whether they're doing something, what is their morale and stamina, but there would also be small symbols to the left of these texts. For example, if you notice right here, it says that they're charging, eager and warmed up, and you can read that. But there are also symbols to the left, so when you look at these symbols you already know, are they fighting, are they in good morale, are they very tired, and I like that. And also the show unit button, which is basically the coat of arms of the faction you have chosen. Once you click it, your units glow green and the enemy units glow red. This is very useful when your army mixes with the enemy army and you have difficulty telling apart them. For example, if you're fighting as England versus Venice or as Scotland versus France, that can be a bit tricky since the colors are very similar. So from Medieval 2, this is what I would implement. From Empire Total War, I was surprised by the size and scale it was presented in this game. Not only did you have Europe as a map that you could conquer, but you also had North America and India, which along with their climates and geography proved an interesting gameplay, because in India you would have these almost desert-like terrains, so you would need to adapt if you were European, because they adapted to that because they had resistance to heat. So, and this also introduced the colonial empire gameplay, because for example, if you were United Kingdom and you had your home region in Europe, you also had colonies in North America and India, and you had to take care of them so you could have great income and so you can maintain your status as a great power. If you lost these colonies, that would impact you in a great way, that you would be limited on how many units you could muster up and maintain them. I liked this. Second, government. So you have a cabinet with ministers. Two are focused on public order, justice and head of the cabinet, and the other two are focused on making your military units cheaper, the army and navy department. I liked this because you could also change the ministers if you didn't like them, but that depended on whether you were a absolute monarchy or republic, because absolute monarchy type government allows you to change ministers however you want, while in a republic you can only fire one minister per turn and you cannot choose who can you appoint. This is interesting, and I would like to see it implemented in the next Total War game. Napoleon introduced attrition and another element to UI concerning units. So attrition was implemented in such a way that if you pass through an area that is very cold or very hot, you would suffer casualties, and the only way to prevent this was to put your units in a town to protect them. Case in point, Russia. You have to take care of your units and put them in towns so they don't die. And the element in the tactical gameplay was a small green bar above your units showing the morale of them and whether they would break or not. I liked it. It gave a better and clearer indication than in Medieval 2. So continuing. Shogun 2, I played the demo and I only heard what elements are here, but I like the RPG elements regarding agents in general. So you would acquire skill points and then you would invest in skills to improve them. So you could make a general that is very good in ambushing or attacking or governing a settlement. I like this. Also from Empire, it was taken and improved here in my opinion, because you would also give commissions not to ministers but to lords. So not only would they be in charge of army or agriculture, but they would also be in the field in a fight. I like this. And you can also select who will be your heir, which is always a plus in my opinion. Now about the setting of the ultimate Total War game. Antiquity. Why? Because of the diverse civilizations and factions and their army composition. From the well-equipped and disciplined Roman legions to the traditional hoplite phalanxes of Greece, to the brave Celts and Gauls, to the flexible Carthaginian army, and to the more exotic successor kingdoms and eastern factions with the war elephants and cataphracts. I like this. Also, there would be a decent amount of factions to choose from, so if you don't like one you can always choose another, and this would also be reflected in gameplay. For example, Rome has very good legions, but it lacks in cavalry. It doesn't have the best cavalry. Against Parthia it would have some problems because Parthia has excellent cavalry in the game, and I like this. So the map would look like this, like in Roma Surrecton. I would personally like to expand it more east so I can include the Indian Empire of that time. But I know what you're going to say. We already have a Total War game that is set in Rome and it was relatively recently released. I understand that. So the alternative? Yes, I have. Renaissance. Now you're asking why. Well, transition. The key point. Not only would you be moving from more melee based to more ranged based combat, but this will also be reflected in technology and structures. So you would have star forts and no more castles. You would have cannons and no more trebuchets. It would be interesting. Also, the discovery of the other continents and trade routes around the world would lead to a colonial empire type gameplay, which I like. So you would establish trade companies in other continents to preserve your interests there, just like in Empire. So you would not only would you be moving from melee to more ranged focused type of combat, but also your units would start wearing less armor and start wearing more uniforms. You would move from the primitive cannon to more sophisticated artillery, and the once heavy cavalry would become lighter in comparison. This transition would be very interesting because it would cover wide areas of types of warfare, and it would force you to adapt, which means you started to play melee focus, but later you develop firearms. Now you need to change your tactics, and that, in my opinion, would make the ultimate Total War. It would make it interesting, it would make it diverse, it would make it changing. I like that. Because when I started to play Empire and Napoleon, I had to change my mindset. I was still in the mindset of Medieval 2 melee focused combat. So this would be an interesting blend of one and the other. So this is all I have proposed today. Leave a comment below and thank you for your attention.